Hello. So this is about skinwalkers as told by Native Americans. It's kind of a shorter video. I've been doing a lot of short ones videos lately for this topic. But anyway, I hope you enjoy. I certainly will.
Tales of skinwalkers, as told by Native Americans, are exceedingly rare because of the Navajo dread of the shapeshifter. For good reason. It is a taboo of the First Nation people to talk about the skinwalker, or write about it, or even think of it. However, some of the younger generation no longer keep faith with the tribal prohibitions. Those wise men and fools who thirst for such forbidden knowledge may now find it here. Before pale-skinned invaders from Europe set foot on American soil, in some tribes, skinwalkers were the good guys. The Navajo would choose the best warriors to spy on other tribes, such as the Apache or the Hopi. At night, these warriors would disguise themselves as, or transform themselves into, coyotes, and by infiltrating a neighboring village, could learn if the enemy was planning a raid against them. Only after the Europeans overran Native American land, crippling their culture, did the skinwalkers begin to turn against their own tribes. Following is the testimony of a young Navajo man who was the victim of a skinwalker, posted anonymously in an online forum. One night, my cousin and I were at a party on the reservation. We had a ride home, but the driver had too much to drink, so we had to walk. We sensed we were being watched. To shake this uneasy feeling, we decided to take a shortcut across the wash. The moon was not full that night, but we could have crossed with our eyes closed. And it was only 4 miles to my grandparents' house. After we had been walking for an hour, which would have been about halfway there, again we felt we were being observed. We noticed a dark figure behind us, too far to make out any features except for the outline of its form. Then we heard it laughing. We increased our pace until my cousin said he could hear the skinwalker breathing. Then we broke into a sprint. The sound of its laughter continued to follow us. When the sound finally stopped, we raced ahead until we were confident we had outrun it. That is when the shapeshifter appeared in front of us. It had long pointed ears and a pointed nose, and its eyes reflected the sliver of moonlight as would the eyes of a dog. Just as suddenly it vanished, and we hurried forward. We did not see it again. Occasionally my cousin would recite a native prayer in hopes of repelling it, and every time he prayed, we heard it respond in amusement from the surrounding darkness. The laughter came from in front of us, then from behind us, over and over. In one of those moments in between, as we were steeping in our own fear, out of the night materialized my grandparents' house. Theirs was a traditional native home. No electricity, no running water, but there we found safety. Both of us broke down crying like much smaller children. Grandfather's face was like stone as he listened to our story, but grandmother was nodding her head as if she had heard it all before. Then grandfather told us of one of his own close encounters with a skinwalker. I can no longer recall his tale. I only remember later that night. From a deep sleep, my cousin shook me awake. "What's wrong?" I said. My cousin said only 2 words. "He's back." We heard the shapeshifter running in front of the house, to the right, to the left, and back again. I said, "Don't wake anybody else." And I inspected my grandfather's rifle. It was loaded. Before we opened the door to the outside, I waited while my cousin said his prayers. In fact, the very same petitions which had failed before. In spite of this, I asked him to pray for the households too. When he was done, I threw open the door, and we stood there together, side by side. But the threat had fled. The night was cool, empty and quiet, and we never heard from it, ever again. There is a man who lives in the mountains who prides himself on the fact that his DNA is 100% Navajo. For the fool or the wise man, he has one piece of advice for those who wish to bait and attract a shapeshifter. Wait until nightfall. Rub ashes on your face, and then speak of it out loud. The Skinwalker will do the rest.
I write
whatever they.
The writing style that I use is poetic writing to do so that way the people can feel the feelings that I have, like our song Skinwalker. I took it from a Native American legend about the shamans that they have for kids who change themselves for each group that they hang out with instead of being themselves, instead of being the dorky, nerdy, or preppy person that they truly are.
It's even better when someone's standing up front and they're singing your lyrics. And like, we're just a local band. No one knows us, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it feels good. Like this guy here. This guy here.
That fool who just ran past.
That's Tommy Zane.
Come back here!
Oh shit, he's on our...